Good morning. Good morning to all of you that are joining this this event and this debate on the European Industrial Revolution. So, my name is António Cunha. I'm the president of the Northern Portugal region. But until very recently, I was involved with different R&D projects with the shoe industry, and this is why I'm really pleased to be here and to join you. Furthermore, I'm also pleased to share this fantastic panel that we have here with very knowledgeable people from different areas related with the shoe industry, with people from the area of manufacturing, the area of selling, the area of R&D, of development and research behind, and also people, and also a colleague from the finance sector that is also always needed to leverage business and industrial activity. But first of all, I'd like to greet and to congratulate AMF SHOES and Albano Fernandes and all his team for this huge event, for this very important event on this week of shoes, of safety shoes, performed in a digital format and mainly using remote access and tools as the times that you are living recommend. But this is an impressive organization. I was informed that more than 1,300 people are enrolled in this event, and so this is really a worldwide organization involving people related to the sector from different parts of the world. So for me is a pleasure again to share this meeting and to discuss with you, with my guests, let's say, the challenges of what we like to call the European Industrial Revolution. In fact, due to reasons that we know very well, due to the big transitions or the big transformations that we are having in the digital side, the so-called digital transformation, but also the transitions that we like to have in terms of how we interact and impact our planet, so are forcing us and are leading us to also the so-called environmental transition. And these two transitions are changing the landscape of the European industry, of course, of the shoe industry, and also of the safety shoe industry, that is a specific sector inside the whole shoe industry. But all of you know that since the beginning of this year, the world is facing a crisis, a sanitary crisis that also is causing also economic crisis, but this sanitary crisis is having several impacts in the economy, but also in the way the world is organized, or the main economic blocks are organized, and how the value chains and logistic supply chains are organized inside the different sectors. And in this very complex context, it is now clear that this is the time for Europe to develop a new industrial model, an industrial model that has to be digital, very, very digital based and environmentally friendly, but a digital model that also rely more on capacities, resources, knowledge, and workforce that are within Europe. Of course, interactions between the different economic blocks will remain in the future, but it is coming more and more clear that things are not going to be exactly the same as they have been in the past. And this is why this panel is very pertinent in this moment, having the possibility to discuss these challenges that the safety shoes sector of Europe is experiencing, and to perspective what is going to be its future. As I told you, I'm very, very pleased to share a very nice, knowledgeable and experienced panel with Michiel Kempen from ALLSHOES, Christian Decker from DESMA, Luis Carneiro from INESC TEC, and Rui Constantino from Santander Bank. Unfortunately, Albert Weyer from Dunlop Shoes was supposed to be with us, but he was not able to do it in the last moment, and we will go without him. But I'm sure my four guests and with me trying to do my best as chairman, we will be able to have a very interesting discussion. And to start this discussion, I will ask the ask the panel members to introduce themselves, say a little bit about in a very short 1-2 minutes, to say a little bit about what we are doing and what is your company experience and how you are related with the safety shoe sector. So please, Michiel Kempen.
Thank you, Antonio. Well, first of all, greetings from the Netherlands. My name is Michiel van Kempen. I'm the Managing Director of ALLSHOES Safety Footwear. We are part of the BUNZL group. Like Antonio said, my congratulations to Albano, Domingos, and the whole team of AMF and ALOFT for organizing this Revolution Week in, I think, a very challenging period for all of us. Our company is called ALLSHOES Safety Footwear. We are a safety footwear specialist and a distributor. We trade brands like Resport and Vismo as licensed brands mainly in the Benelux, and we sell and develop our own brand, Red Brick, globally. AMF is since a long time a very strong partner of us, and therefore happy that we could participate in this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian Decker, please.
Antonio, thank you so much for the introduction, and Albano, thank you for the organization of this really huge event. I really appreciate that you invited me also. Well, my name is Christian Decker. I'm CEO of DESMA. DESMA is known as a provider of technologies and equipment for also the safety shoe industry. So we are producing injection machines and we are producing also automation equipment and robotics. And our target, as we are getting maybe also in the questions, is really to be a really strong partner also in the questions of industrialization digitization, IoT, and also the wording which came maybe roughly 10 years ago, Industry 4.0. This is really our target to push all these developments forward. So I really welcome also this format of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Luis Carneiro from INESC TEC.
Hello, good morning. Great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Luis Carneiro. I'm a member of the board of INESC TEC, a research institute in the north of Portugal. We are around 800 researchers with strong activity in the manufacturing domain, where we cover fields like the digital transformation, robotics, electronics, energy, among others. We have a long collaboration with footwear industry in Portugal and also at the European level. So for more than 20 years, we've been doing this collaboration. So great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Rui Constantino from Santander, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm also very pleased to be with you and to witness the way that the Portuguese manufacturing sector, and especially the safety shoe sector, is doing also in these challenging times, and how it is moving forward also under this new reindustrialization process. My name is Rui Constantino. I work at Santander. I'm chief economist at the bank, and it has been also, let's say, a privilege to be able to accompany a significant number of the Portuguese companies in this process of moving forward and contributing to the progress of Portugal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we all know each other, and our very large audience also know us. And so we'll go on with this discussion, with this debate. I will put some questions to each one of you, but please, if you are not the one that has been asked, please feel free. If you think you have something that you can add to the discussion, please feel free to get inside the discussion, and let's make it as informal as we can. Although, of course, we should adjust and follow our plan. But please make your comments if you want to do that. So we are in, as I said in the beginning, we are in the digital era. Digital revolution, digital transformation in industry has several impacts, including in robotics, in automation, and several operations that in the past were done by people, more and more are automated, are done by robots. But in the end of the day, humans are always a central point in any activity, and in this activity, by sure, are very, very important. And so for the industry is also a critical factor to have availability of the workforce, to have a workforce that is trained, that has the adequate skills, that is aware of what is the requests that the product that is being made requires. And this is, of course, on the different sectors of the company, in the design, in the planning, and of course in the manufacturing, in shop floor. So I would like to ask initially to Michiel Kempen, but also after to Christian Decker, how they see the human factor, the workforce ability in this sector, in this industry, and how this could be improved, and what is perhaps the major challenge for the industries here in Europe is how can the sector attract people and skilled people to their companies and to their operations. So please, Michiel.
If you don't mind, I would like to give the first opportunity, Christian, to reflect on.
Okay, please.
Okay, so in general, I think there is a strong change when you see the past 25 years maybe in this industry. We see once we need definitely to have product know-how about the shoe design and also about the materials what we are working on. But what's coming up is really a strong trend in direction of robotics and automation, what we just heard multiple times. And you see also the move out of China, why they are moving out of China and now maybe just have a node of roughly 52% left there of the global footwear production in 2019, because the year is really struggling now in the numbers. But I see really a strong move out of China, because just to stay in the traditional way of footwear making and searching for the next China, searching for next countries with low labor costs, but same skills like the Chinese people are having to make shoes in mass production. So they found Indonesia and they found also Vietnam. Vietnam is rising since 10 years, maybe really strong. But I think the globe is a round-shaped ball, so they will one day they will get back maybe to the original markets, which came maybe from Europe and also from North America. But the change in skills is then that you have the facing of the higher labor cost in these continents. So we need also to consider then more automation, even more automation. So the skills is switching then from directly making shoes, but more to program equipment and robotics and automation equipment. So it's really something, I think we have a really good and strong base in Europe with the basic skills of thinking in engineering directions and thinking also in sustainability and maybe this circular economy way of thinking. You know also that we are really forced to look more on our environmental effects. I think really all these aspects together, we have a really strong base in Europe. And this is really also, you can distribute this information also to all the other countries. When you see now in Bangladesh, they still have water problems because they are wasting the water really strongly. And I think there's also the awareness of environmental effects of production is really something what we already have here in Europe and what is needed in these big countries in Asia, which are still growing.
Thank you very much. Michiel, do you want to comment now? Or?
Well, I think this topic is very much related also to the Made in Europe discussion point.
But you can start and connect it too if you want.
Oh, sure. I think let me reflect, and please allow me to reflect on this topic as also a customer of European production companies. I think the Made in Europe philosophy is extremely relevant for us as a trader of high-end A-branded footwear. And at the same time, we also feel there's a potential to reinforce and to re-strengthen this concept. Much of production, like Christian said, has moved out of Europe to other continents and especially Asia. And if we zoom into Asia, what happened over the last 10, 20 years, it's no longer that Asia just produces low quality, low priced products. I mean, this has really changed. And I think instead of having a backlog position in Asia, they're now upfront. We see this, for example, in availability of technical upper materials. And we see the same in new materials for soles like EVA. So I think there is a strong emerging opportunity for European producers if they focus on two topics. That's first of all what Christian said, the technology, the robotics side, the industry 4.0. AMF started 2 years ago a fantastic project with 3D bounding. I think together developed it also with DESMA. It's a great example how we feel the industry should move forward and how to become very, very competitive. And the second clearly is sustainability. Also, sustainability topic is will be widely discussed in this week, and for the right reasons. Circular economies, I think, have the future. And the closer your producers are to yourself, the biggest opportunity you have to close the loop and to change from a linear to a circular industry. So I think together in Europe, if we are able to create transparency in our value chain and find ways to change from the current linear way of working to a more circular, we have a big opportunity. And it's, to my opinion, the biggest step we have to take all together to change this business into a far more sustainable one. So this is my reflection on where we stand and also how to more valorize the concept of Made in Europe.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know, just to put this more living, any of the other members of the panel wants to make a short comment on issues related with the workforce, with the importance of human factor in and training in this sector?
Yeah, maybe I would take the opportunity for a small comment. This is, of course, a very critical issue now and in the near future. And I see this more as an opportunity than really as a threat. In fact, what we see in several sectors, in footwear, in textiles and others, is that in Europe and in other countries, we are not able to find and to motivate enough workers to do some parts of the work we need to do. So this is frequently really a need that we need to address. We need to increase new technology, new automation technology that adapts and that allows us to evolve the work content of workers and in the medium term can transform the work into something more attractive and more challenging even for younger people. Of course, this will require some new skills. This also will not happen from one day to the other. Some people mention the transition to the digital around 10 years, for example. And also, I don't think that all the workers that we have in the shop floor will have to be experts on programming or artificial intelligence. Of course, they will need to work with more complex technology. What I see is that companies will need more people with such skills, technical, also cybersecurity, very important for companies. But this does not mean that all workers will need the same competencies. So I see some evolution in the skills needed, and also on the profiles of the people that will be needed gradually in industry.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yes, I think it's clear that for everyone that human factor is a key factor, and sector to be attractive to skilled people should be a sector that give interesting, challenging working conditions for mainly for young people, that they should be attracted by them. So another important relevant topic for European industry, for all the European industry, but in this case for the safety shoe industry, is the dependence that nowadays Europe have from materials, equipments, manufacturing tools that in several cases came from outside, and in lots of cases from Asia. it is clear that we have a supply dependence from outside borders. As I told you in the beginning, this is changing. The geopolitics is changing, and of course also the economy and the supply chains. But how do you think this will affect or this will be an opportunity for this sector, for the safety shoe industry, this dependence that we still have from outside borders, but that we may be able to overcome if we have the right strategy in the near future. So Luís Carneiro, please, and I will also ask also again Michiel to comment this question. But
sure.
Please.
It's a very interesting point. I came from outside of the this safety footwear industry when I took this job, and to be frank, I was quite surprised to see the organization of many supply chains and production supply chains in our industry. I think that our value chains at the moment are really globalized and perhaps a bit too far globalized. They often are extremely long. And well, what we have encountered over in this year during this pandemic is that perhaps these extreme long value chains are not the best solution. They take away flexibility, and I feel often that they are far too much cost price driven instead of focused on sustainability. And another thing is that, of course, next to the risk on availability of materials, the ecological impact of long value chains is often forgotten. But I don't want to make the calculation how many Ks a component travels before it actually ends up in a shoe in the store. I think it's huge. We have done another research recently on our end users, and it's confirmed that safety is really about quality, it's about reliability, it's about trust, and it's not so much about low pricing. Actually, end users are not too much talking about low pricing. It's not an issue. So why do we put often pricing at the top of the list? Why don't we put quality and reliability much higher? I think it's another topic here is what we should discuss is the production on order principle. It paralyzes for me discussions on supply chain win-win solutions, and puts also the component of having stock at the beginning of the value chain in a completely different perspective. I do think that we need to think about these kinds of topics and take out risks, which we have all encountered over the last couple of months. It's a very relevant topic, and I would be a big supporter of having shorter value chains and sourcing far more within Europe and finding our answers close by instead of these longer chains.
Okay, so maybe I can
Please
comment as well. Of course, I agree with Michiel. It's very clear. I think in terms of supply management, in fact, already in 2011, when we had the volcanoes in Iceland, it became clear the need for introducing more resilience in supply networks. The risk of having the suppliers very far away, very concentrated in just one region, having a very small list of suppliers. Of course, this is a very large risk, and when unforeseen events like the volcanoes or now the COVID situation, very critical, this of course becomes very clear. So we need to have supply networks which are much more resilient, much more adaptive to the environment. and less concerned, of course, with the cost factor, which Michael already mentioned. I think technology is also important because suppliers with superior technology capabilities are able in the long run to reduce cost, improve quality, and better integrate, of course, in the network. So I would reinforce this need to be adaptive, to be resilient. In terms of, and this in terms of materials and components. In terms of technology, of course, it's a bit different because in Europe we have in fact the market leaders for production technology, like DESMA here and many others, digital technologies. So the dependence on the outside borders does not exist, and is of course a very big advantage for European companies to overcome these difficulties and build competitive advantage over lower cost countries.
Thank you. I don't know if Christian, you want to comment, perhaps also in your equipment manufacturing activity, you are in some way also dependent from some outside of the borders.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, this point is really interesting for me because we have an export rate of more than 95% because in Germany there is no footwear production anymore, but just safety footwear is made here in Europe, in Germany, sorry. But what is really important and what I'm missing slightly is the discussion about speed to market. This means for me really the development, what you know also with Zara, which is in the apparel industry, one of the leaders in this speed to market idea. This is one question, and if we have these long supply chains, we really have this lack of transportation. Normally when you're closing a container in Asia anywhere and you just count the weeks, how long does it take between closing a container with 7,500 pairs in Asia, or also maybe if you're shipping really by sea freight, raw materials or textiles or also tanned leather or whatever, then it needs until the retail store is receiving this product between 8 and 12 weeks. So it's more or less the length of a total season in the sport industry. In the athletic footwear, you're talking about 4 seasons per year, then you lost more or less for 1 full season. So what we need to have really, and I think, Michael, you wanted to underline this also, an on-demand production. That if you see there's a trend of a production or maybe in retailing of products, and this is not only related to safety shoe industry, but also to all the other shoe types like casual shoes and athletic, but in general also to all fashion products, you need to react really fast. And speed to market can only be realized if you have a short supply chain. Okay, you could invest maybe in air freight, but then you have this carbon dioxide discussion and you have also not sustainable transportation ways and you have really high cost. So there's a really, in my idea, what Luis just mentioned also, we need to think in networks. We need to think in really production networks and decentralized hubs for production. This is something what I think, and then you can realize speed to market, you can realize short waste in production, being more economic and ecologic. So both ways are supported there.
And of course, you are absolutely right on how these things would change with the increasing of the on-demanding market, and even with the technologies that we know that AMF is also using, and all of you are also using of the softwares for interface with the customer, where the customer can decide what options he made and can almost build his own product under certain limits, but he can build his own product with his combination, and this will require a very short supply chain. Otherwise, this will not be possible, and this, of course, may change the way things are done today. I also I also found very interesting your example with the Zara, the Inditex group, and it is well known that the Zara group, they developed the majority of their products here in Europe. They manufacture the products in Asia or in China or in Pakistan or whatever it is, and so this supply came to Europe and is put on the different shops and is being sold. And if the product is really a success, they don't have any more time to make a refill of the stock from Asia, and they do this from Europe, and this is what is, for instance, being the main source of work of countries like Portugal. Our textile industry works very much in this base, working on the replacing the new product if the product is a success. So yes, this is an evidence that we need really to think how this is done, and this massive logic of products mainly in fashion, perhaps this will change due to several issues, including the environmental issues, and I do think this will change in the near future. I don't know if you have any comment on this. Perhaps this will be also the, I don't know how this is seen from finance. I don't know if our friend Rui Constantino wants to make a comment, or if you will wait for more specific questions on the financing issue. But I'm seeing you very quiet over there. I don't know if you want to comment. Please feel free. We are not hearing you. We are not hearing you. Please.
But
yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, can you hear me now? Yes, I'm listening to the experts, and I agree. Just a couple of things. The long supply chains, and it has been mentioned a lot. Sustainability. So that will at some point in time also lead for this relocalization, and because the criteria are different. That is the way we are looking at the requirements we have in Europe in terms of safety and environmental conditions are not extended in the meantime to all the providers, into the providers chain. So that will likely happen. What we are seeing as well is that if the financial sector is also looking at that, because we are being the regulators are looking more and more into sustainability. There is also a public perception on that. We have the perception on the ESG, and it will be a part, for instance, on the external ratings that the banking sector has, not only just its financials, like other companies will start to have. And this is an important issue. This means that banks will start also, and the financial system as a whole, most likely will start also to look at this sustainability issue throughout the entire supply chain, and meaning that when they are funding a company in their R&D project they have in Europe, or the development of equipment and robotics, how that is going to go through the entire supply chain. So that will lead to this transformation. And like Michiel mentioned, quality is very important. If that is the case, consumers will also be very concerned. Consumers and even the end consumer and industrial consumers will be very concerned also about the quality and how the guidelines in terms of having the same human rights, having the same environmental issues will come through the entire supply chain. That will also lead most likely to a reduction of the supply chains. It may have an immediate cost impact in terms of slightly higher costs, but it's a trend that cannot be stopped. And so it will be very important to contribute to this relocalization and a focus on quality and value, which is added to the final product.
If I could add also a small comment, one more, I don't resist to mention the experience here in Portugal. Actually, you know, it's very interesting. From a first visit, Michael Porter many years ago to Portugal. Of course, he recommended to build a cluster strategy in Portugal, which companies in Portugal thought it would be a very good idea, and the National Association, APICCAPS, with support of the CTCP, Technological Center of Portugal, I've done this transformation, and really the decision ended up to be the focus on shorter delivery times and small series production with very small delivery times. And this worked very well, and it's the reason why in Portugal the sector as a whole over the last 20 years could increase sales of around 10 times. So I could not resist. Of course, I agree totally with the suggestion, and it's something that the Portuguese footwear, not only safety but also fashion related, are doing with very good results.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Luis. So this interesting question we are having is leading us to this concept of made in Europe and to what is really in the world the value of made in Europe, because we know that when we make things in Europe, environment is more respected, labor rights are more respected, and of course quality certifications are more demanding, and our industrial tissue is of course more regulated and more effective in this and other issues, and of course quality, design and technology are more evident. But what is really this value in international terms, and also inside Europe? Customers are willing to pay for this made in Europe concept. Michiel Kempen already said that in safety shoes, price is not a big issue. So what quality is the key factor. But and I start by you, Michiel. This is exactly the case. The Made in Europe label is a distinctive factor, and the market is willing to pay for that. And how we could improve and take the most out of this label Made in Europe, that yes is recognized in the world, but we always are not very sure if the market is willing to pay for it.
I think the advantage of the Made in Europe for end users, for consumers, I think we have to be careful in not overvaluing this concept. I think it's still up to the brands or the producers to prove what the actual added value of Made in Europe it means, and you need to show it. You need to put this really in practice. So I think there's still some work to do, but I think that in combination with bringing right innovations, making sure that the quality of these innovations is at the right level, the Made in Europe philosophy is still very, very relevant for our industry. The thing is, how can we reinforce, how can we give this more value in the way we develop products, in the way we develop brands? I think there's still some work to do. We have lost a bit of this momentum, to my opinion, and it's time to re-strengthen, especially in combination with the fact that our industry needs this sustainability thinking, and there the Made in Europe stamp is very relevant for us.
Luis, you want to go on with this?
Yeah, of course I agree with Michiel. but in general, I think maybe Europe, I think, still has a quite strong brand nowadays. Of course, this depends on which market segment we are discussing. But in safety shoes, of course, quality is a very important criteria in selection. And I think European products are known for their quality, for their performance. And that may frequently justify a price premium. But for example, in the fashion segment, the Made in Europe brand, how people recognize the European lifestyle, I think is still relevant, and we should of course exploit that and reinforce this message. Regarding the environmental impact, I think here maybe we should go a bit further. I think in some areas, maybe not so much in safety shoes, but we are having in fact huge environmental impacts. We are consuming a huge amount of products that we use very little and then we throw away. And so sometimes I wonder if we should be a bit more ambitious in terms of the even regulations that we have, so that we could enforce less significant environmental impact. And if we would be able to support European companies in meeting this regulation with the right technology, I think this could be also not a threat, but really an opportunity and an important competitive advantage for European companies.
Antonio, may I add one
Christian,
point?
yes, please.
Yeah, one point. There's really coming out exactly this week. There's coming out a nice publication, and you should all look maybe inside this publication from World Footwear. It's coming also from Portugal, this analytics and this magazine, which they are publishing. And there's really what are consumers willing to pay more for which factor in a product. And this is something which is really interesting. And you find local production as really unimportant. They don't want to pay anything more for a product if it's locally produced. They find also, or you find also out there, people are not willing to pay much more just because the shoe is sustainable, but they are willing to pay more for customization. And this is really interesting. You should look inside this analytics. It's really super interesting for me because we are discussing now about sustainability and local production, but this is, I think, tomorrow something, a product needs to have these characteristics. Otherwise, you will not be successful. But if you just underline it and want to get more money for this product, you cannot get it. Because of this, I think we should also focus on these other trends which are coming up. What I know also is customization and so on. And maybe speed to market, fashion-driven products and so on.
And this also really helps in environmental sustainability, because we know that many products are produced and are not even sold. So if we are able to customize and deliver exactly what the consumer wants, we even avoid many products that are not used at all. So
this is really a very interesting point, because yes, it's clear that customization will be an issue and will be a differentiating aspect. But of course, we also know that we cannot go on an absolute customization. Otherwise, it will be impossible to manage a profitable industrial process. So really the challenge is to have what some authors call a massive customization. So a link between a mass production, but inside a production of big amounts, but having the possibility to make each product with some details to have some differentiation to and to make this kind of hybrid solution between mass production and customization. Yes.
Antonio, I underline this,
please.
I just want to give you one impression. It's maybe just 10% more inside the production as cost for the production of the cost when you have these individualized production. So it's not that much more.
You are saying that from the equipment point of view, or no,
I'm talking about the total production cost.
The total production cost
is roughly 10% more, and then for sure production cost is more, but then the relation to the sales value increase, this is super important, and people are willing to pay between 30 and 60% more if you, it depends on the kind of individualization what you're bringing inside the product.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the industry is facing these challenges of being more digital, having more flexible equipment to do this customization, to change the supply chains. So it's a huge transformation that is facing the industry and the shoe safety industry. And I do think that to do all these changes, we need financial resources. We need how to support investments, how to find ways to find all these investments. So, Rui Constantino, how do the banks, and a bank that is a bank with a worldwide expression like Santander, how do you see this, and how do you see this industry, and how do you see this in this specific industry? Is it going to be easy to get money for all these challenges, or?
Money, like any other resources, is scarce. Frankly, what we have been witnessing is that the financial sector has been up to its to what is requested from it. It has not been the most easy couple of years, considering what has been taking place over the past 10 years in the financial sector. But what we have seen is that despite all the difficulties and concerns, the financial system has been behind the companies and the investment they've been making. There are questions about is that access that easy? What are the costs? But the fact is, when we look at the evolution of the financial sector and how, the manufacturing sector across industries, so in footwear generally, it is not different. We see that loans have been increasing aligned with the development of the sector. So we have not seen a significant decline. Let's put it that way. In some areas, we have had a reduction of the support of the banking sector, given the risks. For manufacturing, that has not been the case in Portugal and in other parts of Europe. And I mean Europe basically because the banking sector is behind most of the financing in the continent. That is, we do not have such developed capital markets as the US, for instance, where access to funding is easier. I'm not saying it's cheaper, but it's on that front, it's easier. It's not just bank dependent. And in Europe, we have had this significant approach, and banks have been willing to support the manufacturing sector. We have seen also some support from the authorities, for instance, the ECB policy in terms of lower interest rates and intervention in long-term markets has allowed a significant reduction of both interest rates and spreads, which are important for the development, and especially because also what we see is that a significant part of the investment is decided during crisis moments when companies are changing and reaffecting the way they do things. But these will continue, and over the next couple of years, Europe will be also having, I would say, a more oriented focus from the EU. We are just now negotiating the multi-annual financial framework, the 1.8 trillion euros in support, including the new multi-annual financial framework, and also the next generation EU. and we have some countries not trying to, as it is usual, to gather some benefits from the negotiations. But it's a period where we are leveraging also the possibilities through the different EU programs to leverage this reindustrialization. And the US put a couple of objectives, mainly climate transition and digital transition, and with the reindustrialization. We need to see how it goes in the recovery and resolution plans. We still have some drafts and not very detailed. I think some countries will try to do is basically put the money to work and to avoid a serious economic crisis. And then the restructuring and the reindustrialization will come after 2021 with the new multi-annual framework. But this is also an opportunity to leverage funds and to contribute together with the financial sector, which will be a part of the distributor, and in terms of co-financing with the needs that each company needs to leverage, will be an important issue. Like I said, the EU will most likely also start to include more under the digital, the climate transition, these sustainability issues, and what is the banking sector is also being requested, will come along the supply chain. I mentioned it earlier in my previous comment. I think that on this front, the ECB, which is reviewing its monetary policy and targets, and Christine Lagarde has been very vocal about that, though the crisis has just went that a bit, is the issue of supporting or having more favorable conditions for banks which use as, let's say, the collateral for their operations with ECB, the so-called green bonds. That is, the banks need to be greener. That means that the economy behind the banks, the real economy behind the banks, also needs to be greener. On this, the challenge has been accepted. Banks are incorporating that. And the fact that during this period, and for Portugal, which is the data I've been looking more thoroughly, we have seen a significant amount also with the credit lines with government guarantee, but that has been the case in other geographies, a significant amount of lending for the manufacturing sector, partly to ease the concerns around the most immediate effects from the pandemic, but also that will be leveraged for investment going forward. So the banking sector is there, is going to be there. The questions about whether the banking sector will be there, will continue to exist, but the answer will be simple. Banks will be there to support the economy and the good projects.
Thank you. You refer that, of course, Europe is programming its next framework support period, and of course, you know, mainly in south of Europe, in Portugal, but in other countries, European funds have been very important for industry and for leveraging the exchange. For the banks, for you, when you are negotiating a financing operation with a company, it is important that they are based on a project that is approved by the European authorities, or this is not a major issue?
No, it's not the major issue. That is, the project basically depends on one thing, that it's very well explained. It has it contributes to generate value. So the question usually is, do I have a guarantee? The guarantee is secondary. The main thing that our commercial teams and the commercial teams at every bank does, so I will not stand out in there at this point, is to have a thorough analysis of the project. The project is viable, it makes sense, the economics seem to work, so the banks will be there to support and to leverage, because the idea is always to have a let's say, it's a long-term relationship. So if the company is thriving, investing, growing, generating more value, the bank is, and the bank knows very well that company, and knowledge is a very important part of this in terms of trust, then the bank is willing to support the project independent of having or not EU funds.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know if the other panel members want to comment on finance, or I don't see anyone waving his hand. Okay, thank you. Yes, we are approaching the end, so we are in our final part, and I have a last question for you all, and the question that really is may also be linked with this question of the European strategy and the way Europe is going to develop its strategies for the next years. Do you think that there is a strategic capacity in Europe that will be important for this sector, for safety shoes, that Europe needs to become stronger in the global arena? Let's say, what we need is to be able to manufacture here in Europe some very technical fabrics that would be used on this type of shoes. We need to have companies like DESMA that should develop even more sophisticated and performant equipment in terms of automation. Where do you think should be a strategy that Europe should choose to support this industry and that this industry needs? There is on materials, is on equipment, is on training of people. Where do you think that we should put the eggs, if we have eggs to put on the top of the table? I don't know who wants to start.
Of course, very important, and we wonder about this every day. And for me, the question is, how can we compete at global level, and knowing our competitors, the labor cost they have, the hours they work, how they work in innovation, and so on. I see as main factor the speed. It's actually, I think in the long run, it will be a race about speed. And if we want to win, I see that we have to have an innovation ecosystem that is able to be faster, to deliver better products in a faster way, so that we can be successful in the market. So this would be my contribution.
Okay, so Luis want to put the eggs on the innovation ecosystem. Good. Christian, please.
Well, my key point is just where is this industry starting? We just need safety shoes if we have industries which are requiring safety shoes. And this is normally industrial production, transportation, or whatever services we have. But if we just have services like, sorry for Rui Constantino, if we just have banks, they are not consuming safety shoes. So it's better if we have really industrial production, like whatever, starting with the mining industry, starting also with airports, transportation, where they are consuming safety shoes, also the construction industry and so on, and also the automotive industry. If we are not having these industries, we don't have consumption of safety shoes. And this is starting with this point, I think.
Okay, very nice. So if you really have industry back to Europe in a strong scale, this will be good for this sector.
It's a key driver of the safety shoe industry.
Michiel?
Well, the comment I would like to make is also, it's about entrepreneurship. It's about taking risks together. I think we're all very depending on innovation, on newness, on new materials, new technologies. And I think the traditional way of thinking that, you know, the first layer in our value chain will take care of this, I think no longer exists. I think it's a matter of combining forces, putting your act where your mouth is, and developing together new ways of working, new technologies. And in that sense, it's a common responsibility for all of us to support good companies like AMF, but there are some more in Europe which are at the forefront, and I think will profit from combining good intentions with really actions. I think that is especially necessary.
Thank you. Rui, you want a short comment or?
I totally agree. I would add one more issue, which people it has come with the pandemic. That is, we also may need to have a strategic production level in Europe, in the sense that when supply chains work well, it's everything very smooth. When we have disturbances, we face a scarcity of essential goods, not only on this front, and so this means that we need to have a basic manufacturing across Europe. That has been the case. We've seen delocalization, but we have seen many areas which have stayed, even in Portugal, where basically low wages was usually the main factor behind the localization in Portugal. That is not the case so much nowadays. So this is very important, and this strategic view, which should also contribute for innovation and development.
Thank you very much. We are coming to the end of this panel, of this discussion, but we have some questions from the audience that I made here a short selection, and I will ask you to answer very briefly to the questions I selected. The first one is a must that we have to answer these days. It comes from Portugal and is asking how can footwear producers face COVID-19? Anyone wants to comment on this? But of course, this is an absolute expected question in this period. How this is done in Holland, in Germany, in Portugal? No one is. I don't see anyone willing to answer.
Well, I think it's a general question how you organize your production. You need to be careful with all your workers, definitely, but use also the opportunities of this development. For example, what I just mentioned, we need industries, and what is, for example, now rising strongly is online retailing. And what we all know, online retailers are selling something, and then there are some transportation companies which are delivering this. So if they need shoes, these are safety shoes. So the delivery business is normally always using safety shoes. This is also a kind of opportunity in this pandemic crisis, what we all feel also economically wise. And if you just look on the stock values, Rui Constantino can talk us or can tell us a story about it, why the values of these companies are rising strongly, like whatever, Tesla or I don't know. This is also something like a kind of bubble, in my opinion, but we need to be careful with this. Being in a realistic business is really important, and distribution business also, every people need something like consumption of basic products. Maybe they are reducing the consumption in this year, maybe of shoes, but next year is coming up maybe back again. I'm quite sure about this.
Thank you. Now we have a gender question, and an interesting gender question that comes from Ireland. How can safety footwear industry promote the sense of belonging for women in industrial environments? Or how do you think that this sector and the safety shoes could make the presence of women in the industrial environments easier? Michiel is, please.
Yeah, sure. From a commercial perspective, I must say, I do see very interesting developments in terms of female workers in different sectors. The rise, what Christian also said, of e-commerce, of course, is creating huge opportunities in warehousing and logistics, etc. At least in our country, we see very stiff growing percentage of female workers in these industries. So what does it mean for us? We have developed specific safety shoes for ladies, not like the unisex products we used to sell 10 years ago, but it's now really safety shoes on ladies last. And it's a fast-growing segment, so I do see some very positive trends in this area. I'm happy to see that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to finish with the last question for those of you who want to answer, and this question is about future. In fact, it's a question that came also from both from Germany and from Spain, and what will be the big trends for this sector in 2021, and what will be the new things in this safety footwear industry? So
one is digitization. One is maybe online retailing. Making an order production, made-to-order production, instead of pushing products in large quantities into the market. This is something what I see, which is coming not only in the next year, but in the next 5 years, it will strongly rise up. Online retailing is something what you just saw maybe the last 2 weeks was the Singles Day in China with Alibaba. They made such a huge amount of revenue. It's incredible what they made within some days. Last year, they made it in 1 day. 2019, they made in 1 day the revenue of, for example, of Nike, what they are doing in 1 year. So it's just online retailing is for me a clear trend.
So new business models will be the issue.
Yeah.
I agree. Of course, digital transformation, I believe, will be very strong in the near future. Of course, connected with new distribution channels, online selling, and so on. And as we mentioned before, and relating to the previous question, of course, companies will need more IT and technical competencies. And I would like to see more women in those professions as well. So for sure, digital transformation and for sure, more women in the industrial landscape.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you all. This was a very, very nice discussion. I would like to acknowledge your participation, but also to acknowledge very much the presence of the big audience that we are having. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you that tomorrow will be another very interesting panel on the digital revolution. This panel will be opened by our economy and Deputy Prime Minister, Pedro Cisa Vieira, and we'll have also a nice group of panel members with João Maia from APICCAPS, our Association of Footwear Industry, Patrizio Carlucci from ECHO, Jens Schmidt from Footwear Innovation Lab, Paulo Novaes from University of Minho here in Portugal, and Shiny Smith from Restar. But today and after this panel, we will have several pitches, several short presentations that I invite you to follow from Sphere on soul bubble technology by Pedro Castro from ALOFT. Also a pitch on the future. 2020 is a decade of the disruptive challenges in the global footwear market, and you will have the opportunity to listen again Christian Becker that was with us today. Also from AMF Shoes, a very nice experience on 3D experience on a digital showroom of the group TOWORKFOR, and also a workshop on additive manufacturing by António Cunha from University of Minho. From my side, it was really a pleasure to be with you, to be with this group of colleagues in this very nice panel, also to share this session. And once again, I acknowledge your presence, and I acknowledge Albano Fernandes and AMF Shoes and ALOFT for all this very, very big initiative. Thank you very much, and stay safe.